Good morning to you all. It's another bright Saturday morning, and we need to come together now and do another installment of Marriage Melodies Saturday live broadcast. Yes, and what do I want to talk about today? I remember on Thursday I had an opportunity to be called on telephone to respond to a few issues concerning marriage and relationship, and that particular call arose from the video that went viral when a man chased his wife onto the streets, asking her to come back so that they can continue what they were doing in the bedroom. They can continue their love making, and the woman was crying of being tired, and then the street people got involved, and it was such an embarrassing sight that a man would be so in need or wanted to go so far or so long that he had to chase the woman out of their home onto the street for everyone to participate. Even a man interjected and told the husband that told the wife, is he not your husband? Go back. And so they asked me, and they wanted to find out from me what my thoughts were. And indeed I said that the husband's behavior was a bit disgraceful, was not good enough, because he brought his family into public odium, embarrassment. It's not good for the leader, the head of a home, to behave like that. Eating is not a sin, but gluttony is a sin. When you eat too much, you commit sin. Drinking is not a sin, or drinking of alcohol, but when you drink and get drunk, you have stepped out of order. So the man having sexual intercourse or relationship with his wife is perfectly in order. He demanding for it is in order. The woman in this case did not deny him, but she said she was tired. And so on that score, the man should be condemned for his action. His action are less than that of a proper head of home, are less than somebody who should be called a godly husband. He was being a husband indeed, but a very ungodly one. And so you don't use your privileges as a husband to hurt your wife. That is not how to dispense love. You cannot say I love someone and everything you do is to hurt, displease, discomfort. That is not how to be a godly husband. So that man in that video who chased his wife out onto the street, telling her that let's continue, I am not tired. The woman is crying, I'm tired, and the husband is not considerate. That is not how to be a godly husband. So I made a statement that took the presenters, that jolted them, and I said that they asked me a question and said, why is it that women go for seminars, all manner of seminars, in order to please their husbands, but they don't see men going as much, seeking ways to please their wives, but women are always going everywhere? And I answered them that it is the quest of a woman to control her husband. That surprised them, that the desire, the nature of a woman is to seek ways to control her husband. But God decreed that even though this will be her quest, the man will rule over her. If you are in doubt, go to Genesis chapter 3 verse 16 and read the entire verse 16. And read the the New Living Translation. It gives it, because the word there in the King James Version says that all thy desires shall be that of your husband, and there are various interpretations of that word that are very true. One of it is that a woman will seek to control her husband. Another is that everything she will need to be well spiritually and physically will flow from her husband. And so this and her daily upkeep will flow from her husband. But you see, that statement jolted them. And I want to let them know, if they have the chance of seeing this video, that that statement is not totally out of place. It is the foundation of truth, that it is the desire, innate, secret, private, unspoken of a woman to control her husband. But God decreed that a man should not allow that. Rather, he should rule in his house. Rule righteously, I want to put, not ungodly rulership. So that man that chased his wife onto the street, asking her to come, let's continue, after the woman had submitted to him severally, is not doing what is good, is acting callously. So now, what are we talking about this morning? I want to give one to the wife, one to the husband. I call it the wisdom of marriage, traditional wisdom of marriage, how to be a godly husband and how to be a royal help meet for your husband. You see, God created man and said that the man is not good for him to be alone. I will make for him an help suitable for him, and help meet for him. Now, if you continue your marriage with this foundational understanding, you will not only go far, but you will succeed to the glory of God. If you do these things, if you understand how to be a godly husband and wife, how to be a royal help meet for your husband, you will go far. But if you disobey this foundation, then you will have to create all manner of technique to succeed. But I do not always teach fanciful things that make people excited. No, I am not here to excite you or to win you over to be my friend. I want you to be the friend of God. And so I will tell you the truth, however bitter it might sound to you. To others, it's a sweet savor. For truth, for good things, is sweet to the soul that loveth truth. All right. Welcome to this installment again. If you are just tuning in, I want to thank you for tuning in. And I want to say that the times, the lockdown period, so that if this video is seen thereafter, you know that it was done around the lockdown period. And I have taught last week, I started with the series of harmony at home. And I started with resolving conflict, harmony at home. And then I did a series on the love languages, Theo Akatugba's 7 love languages. So go search for those videos on YouTube, Facebook, and look at them. There are many men today who are trying to figure out exactly how to be, or exactly how God expects them to be. Men are confused sometimes because the woman is always saying, I'm not satisfied. And so men are confused and they are wondering, how can I be a good husband? And they are wondering how. And so women are saying, go and seek knowledge. Learn about us. If you learn about us, you will know what we want so that you can be a good husband. Yes. So I want to give you some ideas of how to be a godly husband. I'm not looking for good husbands. I'm looking for godly husbands. Because there are husbands that are good to their wives, but they are not godly husbands. You know, they are ungodly husbands that are good to their wife. What that means is that their wives have become their God, who gives approval that they are a godly husband. However, it is important that your wife should testify of your goodness only to the glory of God, not to the glory of her capacity to manipulate and control and guard you in the way that pleases her. There are many husbands that are pleasing to their wife, but they are despicable in God's sight. So take note of what I'm saying. Do not please your wife at the expense of what God wants you to be. What God wants you to be is a godly husband, not a goodly husband that do not please God. For many men are effeminate. They are women. They are afraid of their wife. When you are afraid of your wife, you are not pleasing God. You are working against the standard of God. You are becoming an effeminate, someone who fears his wife. No, you honor your wife. You don't fear her. Because if you do so, it means you have replaced her with, you have replaced God with her. She's now the one in charge who you fear. A man should fear God, not his wife. Fear God and depart from evil. Woman, you are not the God of your husband. So if your husband fear you, please call him and advise him not to. And if you are doing anything to make your husband fear you, desist, for you are a sinner. You are wrong. And the day your husband is delivered from fear of you, you've lost the marriage. So do not manipulate. Do not use any instrumentation to win your husband's heart to the extent that he now fear you and not his God. A man should fear God, not his wife. Yeah. So let us continue and take a look at what it is. So I came up with some of these ideas so that man will no longer be confused. These things are central to being a godly husband. There are many more things you can do that are not offensive to God that I will not list. But we must continue to seek how to do good to one another. That is what marriage is all about. Enriching, edifying, building one another. You know, as your wife, the first thing I want to tell you is that love God more than your wife. Love God more than your wife. Love God. A godly husband loves God more than his wife. You don't love your wife more than God. Let's think about that for a moment. You don't love your wife more than God. You love God more than, as a godly husband. Has your wife become an idol in your life? Has she become an idol in your life? Do you idolize your wife? Do you care more about what makes your wife happy than what makes God happy? Tell me, what do you care more? Some men will say, well, I know it's wrong, but since he makes my wife happy, that's why I'm doing it. The same way Adam made Eve happy by eating the fruit. He ate the fruit to please Eve. And God said, because you've hearkened to the voice of your wife and have eaten the fruit wherein I've commanded you not to eat, cursed is the ground for thy sake. Just listen to that. He listened to his wife and ate the fruit, but that does not please God. So you will have no other God before me. That is what God decreed in Exodus chapter 20 verse. You will have no. So a man should not have his wife as a God in the house, in the marriage. If you do so, you are in the wrong, husband. Do not have any other God after me. So a man should not have a wife, should not make his wife a God, something he works to please at the expense of God. No, it's not allowed. And if you put something or someone else in my place, I will remove it. That's what God is saying. If anything, if your car is more important to you than God, God will remove it. If your house is what you worship, hey, what my house, and at the expense of God, God will remove it. If your job is more important before God, God will remove it. So if your wife is more important to you before God, I fear that God will, but may God not do so. So God does not do that. So God will remove you because you are not pleasing. You are effeminate. You worship idol, which is your wife. Don't do that. It is dangerous, to idolize your wife. Very dangerous. Dangerous spiritually speaking, I mean. We must do well for our wives. We must love them. We must take care of them. We must be romantic. Come on. We must be good husbands. We must be kind. We must be everything that makes you a godly husband. But do not idolize your wife. It's dangerous. That's what we are saying. So it is even more offensive to God for a woman to desire her husband to idolize her. Wife, listen to me. If you are surreptitiously, by trick, trying to make your husband idolize you, by buying all, your husband should admire you, should like you, should love you, but not to idolize. So anything you do that you know that it is intended to make my husband, listen to the word I'm using. Idolization is to place something above God. Is to something you worship, you fear. You fear of losing. No, a man does not idolize his wife. It's dangerous. In fact, it is offensive to God if it is in the heart of a woman to want her husband to idolize her. I'm saying this for your own spiritual well-being, so that you don't enter the marriage and lose it eventually. When you lose your marriage, then what happens? And you lose it because you were trying to make your husband idolize you, to tell your husband how to worship you. Or worship can mean many things. Might not be direct, open worship, but you want him to fear you, you want him to, you are manipulating your husband. No, it is not allowed. It is not allowed. So men, keep yourself in check with this question. Keep yourself in check with this question. Do not allow your wife to manipulate you in a manner that you idolize them. This is a tip on how to be a godly husband. It's words of wisdom flowing from the citadel of truth. It is not meant to excite you. It is meant to save your marriage. So I'm not here to give you sweet words. I'm here to give you the critical truth that will defend you in this world and in the world to come. Nathan, thank you for joining. The question now is, men, who do you fear more? Your wife or God? Men, who do you fear more? Your wife or God? This question is poignant because some men have women, they have given birth with them, they have had children outside, but they could not declare to their wife. What are they doing? They are more afraid of their wife than God, who sees that they have a child. So when a man, I heard of a man who died. He had had 7 children out of wedlock. Oh, Shino Agbeduvi. Thank you for joining. Take a look at this. The man had 7 children out of marriage, outside. He did not tell the wife about it until he died. So, at his funeral, the children showed up. Who was this man more afraid of? Was he the God now he's going to face, or the wife? Men, think about this question. Who do you fear more? Are there things you are doing that you are hiding, and your wife is not aware, but God is aware, and you are doing them? Are you thinking that God is not seeing you, and your wife is not seeing you, so you are safe? The question is, who do you fear more? Man must not be afraid of his wife. A man who is afraid of his wife is an effeminate, and God says in Corinthians that such a man will not have a place in his kingdom. How will you please your wife on earth and miss the glorious kingdom of God? It is this question that we're always talking about. These are the issues that we deal with, that we need to look at, so that we can be a godly husband, not just a goodly husband. There are many goodly husbands that are filthy in God's sight. They do all sorts of things only to please their wives, but these things are not pleasing to God. I gave you an example. Such a man, Adam, our father, pleased Eve, our mother, pleased Eve to the offending of God by eating the fruit. It was nice. Your wife ate fruit, eat fruit with her, but that offended our father. Take a look at Sapphira, the husband and the wife. He pleased the wife to the detriment of God, and God killed the two of them. You remember? Let's also take a look at Samson and Delilah. Delilah said to Samson, prove to me that you love me by telling me the secret of your power. What happened? Samson revealed the secret against the instructions of God. What happened to Samson? So men will be wise and be a godly husband, not just a goodly husband. This does not mean that we should not do well, we should not please, we should not enrich, we should not promote, develop, all manner of things. We should be romantic, we should use words of affirmation, but we should be conscious of who we are. We are not just husbands by the dictate of society, by the dictate of a woman's choices of how you should behave, but we are husbands because we are on a mission to dispense the love of God to that woman that God gave us, to the glory of God and to the building of a godly family. Men, be on your guard and not be effeminate. Now let me go to the woman. You know, women are always, once a lot of them will not watch at the beginning because some of those things look too hard. They don't like, a lot of women don't like chewing bones when they talk about marriage. They like it soft, they like it enjoyable, they like it interesting. I want to tell the wife that God has sent you to be a help to your husband. So that fault that you are complaining about him, that is the fault you were made to come and help. Instead of condemning, judging, and criticizing your husband, you are not a help if you are doing so. You are a help if you are entreating and asking your husband to change so that he can be a godly husband, not just a goodly husband. Because it is not in your place to fight the one you are here to help. It is not in your place to criticize, to run down, to insult, to abuse. You cannot use your words, your mouth, to abuse your husband. For you are a help that is created, suitable for his need. What I mean is that you are created to come and help him out of his challenges, out in order to fulfill God's divine purpose for him. You are not ahead of him. You should not never be ahead of him. If you are ahead of him, then retrace your step and tell him to lead, for that is the proper order of things. Any marriage where the wife leads is not in accordance with the will of God, and God does not look at it. Satan prevails over such marriages. So even if your husband is weak and has decided to take the back seat, entreat your husband to come forward. My husband, you are the leader, not by appointment, but by divine ordination. You are the head of this home. You are my head. I cannot lead you. It's like the church trying to lead Christ. The church cannot lead Christ. Christ is the leader of the church. The church must take a subservient role and be behind the husband. Yeah, this is good. Ado Kwesi is sending in a good message. He said, while I understand your reasoning, it is very coercive. First of all, you cannot love God if you don't know how to love your wife, and love her at the best you know how to. What kind of love are you going to, let me see that. What kind of love are you going to, sorry, let's look at that. What kind of love? Your wife, okay, your husband is your God because she is your soulmate in the name of loving God. You see homes being deserted as a result of the emptiness that loving a God you don't know creates. Well, I understand you, but the fact is, loving your wife is not at the expense of loving God. So you must understand that critical mix. I understand. There's no coercion in what I'm preaching. You might think so, but this is the truth. You don't go into your marriage and dispense love to your wife at the expense of the love of God. You can't do anything that offends God in order to please your wife. That's what. Do not become an effeminate, a man that is controlled at home in order for you to please God or please your wife. If you do so, you hurt yourself, spiritually speaking. There's no coercion. That's why when we step into this realm of teaching the hard truth which sustain the marriage, a lot of people misunderstand it. They think that it is when you behave like a little cat and a little dog and you do what pleases your wife only, that you have become a goodly husband. No. My brother from Ghana is making a statement that is true. Your wife, God commanded a man to love his wife. You know why? Because he knew that the husband is the one that need to dispense the love that he represents. For he made man in his own image and likeness and deposited in him the quotient of love to give to the wife, so that the wife can testify of the truthness, of the truth of God. So it's not coercion. Coercion is ungodly. What we need is righteous leadership. A man that leads his home with the fear of God cannot go wrong. Dixon Iruebu is producing a movie titled The Good Husband, so he's joining this morning to watch. I have seen him in the plane. He had a cab, the good husband. And so this morning I'm teaching a topic that says that how to be a godly husband, not just a goodly husband. You can be a goodly husband, but you are not a godly husband. Godly husbands are those that behave towards their wife to the pleasing of God Almighty. No one can say such a man will be coercive. If you say so, it means that you are beginning to behave, you are acting out of place. I gave example of Adam. Adam acted as a goodly husband by eating the fruit with Eve. But what did God say? God said, because you hearken to the voice of your wife and you ate the fruit in which I commanded you not to eat, cursed is the ground for thy sake. That act of Adam is good to every woman. Every woman will love you if you do what they want. That's true. But will God love you if you do everything your wife wants? Your desire is to love your wife and please your God, not love your wife to the displeasing of God. So the love that man is, God is asking man to love his wife, is not such that offends him and turns a man to an effeminate. Take note. Effeminacy is a man that is afraid, that behaves like a woman, that's afraid, that acts like a woman. Your wife has called you, you miss the call, and you panic. Why are you panicking? Are you the husband or you are the wife? It is the wife that shows such reverence to the husband. It is not the husband that fears his wife. When you fear your wife, you are out of order. I gave the example of Samson, who Delilah told, prove to me that you love me. What did Samson do? Samson surrendered and told the wife, Delilah, the secret of his power. He was captured. He lost his power. So while he did that, Delilah said, what a good man. But God was displeased. So don't act in a manner that displeases God. What am I saying to women? Women, if you want to be a good wife, recognize your calling. Recognize your calling. Your calling is to help your husband. Your calling is not to attack. It's not to criticize. If your husband has fault, that is when you are to help him to overcome those faults. You don't criticize. You don't go to town and speak negative of your husband and say, he's a useless man. He's not a good man. What kind of man is this? I want to say this morning to you, wife, that if you recognize your calling and become a support your husband, if you are to become the support your husband needs in this world, you have to know that you are created to help him. So if he has fault, help him. There was a day I went to visit, there was an estate agent in the neighborhood, and somebody told me to go to the agent. And I went there early in the morning. When I knocked at the door, the door was locked in the morning, and I had to look out of, I heard water rushing in the kitchen. So I peered, I just peeped through the window, and I saw a woman doing something in the kitchen. And I greeted her and asked, I wanted to see XX man. And the wife said, oh, that's my husband. I said, yes, I was told that he's an agent and he can help me get a house. And the woman, she looked at me, and I can see in her eyes sadness. And I asked her, is there anything the matter? She said, my husband is drunk. Oh, I'm so sorry. And she said she has been battling with that since they married, and that she knows that one day they will overcome, and she will overcome. I felt very touched at the desire of this woman to walk this man through this difficulty without just saying all kinds of things about him. And then at the end, 7 to 8 years down the line, the man has become more sober. He doesn't get drunk again. And one day I asked him, how are you? How do you feel? He said, I thank my wife. She has been so patient. This is how to be a help, not to fight, to attack, to compete. If you do so, you are not doing anything that is good. So I want to conclude by saying that a woman is created specifically to be a husband's helper, not the boss, not the one that coerces him, manipulates him. If you manipulate your husband, you are not being a help. You are to help him to succeed. The Bible has said that a good wife does good to her husband all the days of her life. The word helper means one who aids another. Thus the woman was created because the man needed help from someone that could aid him in his responsibilities. I hope you understand that. And so now, if you are thinking, this sounds so demeaning to me, that I am just someone's helper, then you must also remember for a moment that the idea of a wife being a husband's helper does not demean her in any way. This same word, helper, is used in reference to the Lord himself. David said, God, the helpless commit himself to you. So God is the helper of man too. So a woman has a very important role to help her husband. So in addition, note that the helper God created was to be comparable to Adam. So you are comparable to your husband, but your husband is your help. You are to help him. Don't fight him. If you fight your husband, you have stopped helping him. You must help him because he is in need of your help. That's why God said it's not good for him to be alone. So in this respect, we must agree that if a woman recognizes her calling as the helper of her husband, yes, I saw Erastus. I'm now seeing Kwesisa Kodia Ofori and Maximilian Okafor. Thank you for joining. And I want to say that knowing God has a stated plan for you as a wife, are you willing to agree and yield to his desire? A lot of women come into marriage without understanding why they are entering the marriage. Any reason for you to marry a man that is different from helping the man, it's called an added addendum. You have to check it whether it pleases God. Don't let a situation make you to compete, to fight with your husband. A husband must be a godly husband who leads with righteousness. That word is very clear. You do not lead like a Satan, like devil, by being coercive, by being brash, by using wrong words on your wife. No, you must be such a man that is dear to your wife. Your wife should testify that my husband is a godly husband, not just a goodly husband. For many goodly husbands do things that pleases their wives to the detriment of their relationship with God. Are you willing to be your husband's helper and counterpart? The reason I ask this question is because some wives I have spoken to do not want to be a helper. They want to be the head of the home. If you are trying to be the head, then you will not be a helper to your husband. Why? Your striving to be the head will only create conflict and tension between you and your husband. Yes. Yes. If you try to fight, no. You said this to me. You are competing. You cannot help him. Good. Theo Henry, thank you very much for that contribution. So take note, wife, you cannot help your husband. This is the first decision. This is the first decision that you must make. Do you truly want to be a wife that will support or help your husband? So this morning, my brothers and sisters and friends, let us understand that to be a godly husband is to do things that pleases God and make your wife happy. If it makes your wife happy and doesn't make God happy, you are out of order. Wife, help your husband. Don't fight him. You can't insult him. You can't say negative words about him if you are here to help him. If he has a fault, if he's womanizing, he sleeps with all manner of women. This is why you were brought to help him. You have to help him. Some women have left their husbands because they had a girlfriend or they have a side chick. Do you know what they did? They divorced and they became side chicks. Some foolish decisions have taken place in the past. And so Urubo Efe is also watching. That's a very outstanding comedian and MC. So, so at the end of the day, let us understand what God truly wants from both of us. Husband, be a godly husband. Wife, be a help to your husband. If you do this, your marriage will flourish. Go and ask those who have been long in marriage. Women who have manipulated their husbands, who attempted to be the head of home, are today unmarried. They've ended up in divorce. Women who compete, argue with their husbands, they have no place in the marriage institution. Men who are wicked and callous, who misbehave with their wife and talk to their wife anyhow and misbehave, insult, do not provide for them, are wicked, and they use their authority to dominate them unrighteously. Such is not allowed. So on this note, my brothers and sisters, I want to admonish all of you and say that all of this I have said is to give you those wisdom, those hard truths that saves marriage. They are not palatable now, but the fact that they are not palatable does not mean that they are not true. So it's for you to begin to counsel yourself and advise yourself in the right direction so that you can grow in your marriage, succeed to the glory of God, so that at the end of the day, you will be counted as a fruitful servant, one who sustained the marriage institution, because the marriage institution is the first religion that every man goes in and build himself to the pleasing of God. Vrendo, thank you, Efe, for that one. So I want to say that my brother who contributed from Ghana, please don't take this as coercion. Coercion is not part of marriage. Love does not have coercion. If you understand the definition of love, the love that God asked a man to love his wife is not the type of love the world is demanding of husband. The love that Delilah demanded of Samson is the type of love that the world is demanding. Delilah told Samson, prove to me that you love me by telling me the secret of your power. So the same way Eve challenged our father Adam, eat the fruit, and he ate to prove his love. I tell you the truth, these kind of love are not the type of love that man should prove to his wife. Man should love his wife in accordance with the will of God, and that means do what Christ will do for the church. Christ does not love the church in a sinful way. He loved the church righteously. Man, love your wife righteously. And wife, submit to your husband by helping him in the way of his life, that all the days of your life you will be a helper. You are made to be his help, not his fighter, not his adversary, not his rival, but a help that is duly submissive, lovingly, and romantically too, so that you don't run out of the bedroom and say you are tired. Such women, please know how to manage your home. The woman who also ran out, she also took the husband out. So on that note, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, I so much appreciate you, the time and the data you've used to join. And if you've seen this and you're seeing this video afterwards, please recommend it to others and continue to subscribe to my YouTube page, Theo Akatugba's YouTube page, and also watch them on all the social media platforms, Theo Akatugba on Instagram, and also Theo Akatugba on Facebook, as you have joined me this morning. It's been a pleasure. Take care of yourself, and bye for now.